And joining us to sort through why is Maricopa County Attorney Rachel Mitchell. Thanks for getting up early with us. So let's start with this. What qualifies as elder abuse?
Well, first of all, good morning. There are actually different types of elder abuse, obviously neglect or physical abuse, but there's also sexual abuse. There can be absolute abandonment or emotional and psychological abuse. Or as financial abuse as well. People targeting them for either taking over their finances or scams.
So what do you think is behind this upward trend? Is it our growth in population or just more people being willing to come forward and report it?
It could be a combination of those things, but it also could be an increase in people that are getting older who have more access to computers. They're more willing to use computers, and a lot of these individuals, financially at least, will strike over the computer. But I'm hoping that it is a trend that is showing that more people are willing to come forward. A lot of times people who are elderly don't want to report. They feel like they've been taken, or if they've been physically abused, they don't want to let people know that because they don't want to be put in a home or something like that. And so they don't tell people. So hopefully they have the confidence to come forward and understand it's nothing that they did wrong. It's something that the other person did wrong. And if they've targeted that elderly person, chances are they've targeted others.
And there are so many warnings going out. I mean, it's like our older population, our seniors have, a target on their backs when it comes to scammers because they're so willing to trust the people on the other side of the phone or the text.
Absolutely. And, the old adage that if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. That's one way to stay, safe is to keep that in mind. But, as computer technology advances, we've seen it ourselves with some of the emails that we get. Some of those emails that were easy to tell before are getting a little bit harder to tell. And that's going to continue to happen as technology advances.
So what is your office doing to try and bring this trend down?
Well, obviously we're holding people accountable that do it. We have a number of cases that are going on right now for people who have physically abused elderly people or are scamming them. But we're also out there educating people. We have a speakers bureau. If there are groups of people that want to hear about how to protect themselves from scams, and it doesn't have to be elderly people, we're happy to send a speaker out to educate individuals about that. But we're also just, out there promoting reporting. If it's physical abuse, call the police, call Adult Protective Services, let them know. There's no shame in that having happened. What the shame would be not telling anybody and letting somebody get away with that.
We're talking with Maricopa County Attorney Rachel Mitchell, and while we have you on the phone, I wanted to mention this. There was a suspect in East Valley youth assault cases who was arrested for alcohol consumption the day after he was sentenced to probation. We're talking about Jacob Pennington. He was a passenger in a vehicle pulled over by Gilbert police. They say they observed him maybe having drank alcohol. Are you going to attempt to revoke his probation?
Yes, actually, we have already filed a petition to get that in front of the judge and look at that as a violation of probation. That is, it's unacceptable that somebody at any point in their probation would violate the terms. But so soon afterwards, that just shows that he's not fully comprehending how serious this is.
And another topic, I know you asked the state Supreme Court for a warrant to execute Aaron Gunches, who was convicted of killing his girlfriend's ex-husband, Ted Price, back in 2002. You got a lot of pushback from the Attorney General on that, however. Why do you think Gunches is the next man who needs to be executed in Arizona?
Well, he actually, if you recall, the previous Attorney General had filed for a warrant of execution, and it had been granted. And then when the current AG got in, she tried to withdraw it, and the court wouldn't let her. But at that point, the governor stepped in and said, well, I'm suspending death penalty cases. So he actually was the next up scheduled for execution. And it was the victim that actually tried to stop the Attorney General from withdrawing that warrant of execution. And interestingly, Mr. Gunchus has asked to be executed.
Right.
And in fact, we just received a letter from him, I believe it was last week or maybe the week before, reiterating that. So that is why we're, focused on Mr. Gunchus at this point. His appeals have run both in the state and the federal courts. So that's what you're looking for.
All right. Once again, that's the Maricopa County Attorney Rachel Mitchell.
Thanks for watching Sharper Point. Click to see more from Arizona's Morning News and tap the button in the middle to subscribe.